Hello, my friends. I'm Kathy Rotes, and today we're thinking differently with my friend Nicole Lehr, and I'm so excited because we're like literally at her farm right now. So this is going to be a very fun episode talking about her lavender farm. So I'm going to show you some things real quick, and throughout the video we'll show you the fields, but I'm so very excited and so proud of her. We are high school friends, and she has really thought differently about how to create a lavender farm of all things. She doesn't have the degree and she doesn't have the history or the family, farm. She just figured it out. I'm so proud of her, and I'm so excited to show you a little bit of her world, and then stay tuned for the interview where you can learn more fun stuff about her adventure. Tell us this extracurricular business that you created. When did you create it? What is it all about?
Mm-hmm. I think this is our fourth summer. And so what happened pre-COVID, I think it was in 2019, we did an annual trip in the falls we do every year. And that year we chose to go up to Washington Island, Door County. And as we went up to Washington Island, there's two lavender farms at the time was up there. And we went to probably, I would say, the fancy one. And it literally was, I'm walking in, grab the shopping cart, and I'm throwing things in my basket. And my husband's kind of looking at me and looking at all these, mostly women, and going, okay, what's going on here? And literally did not know what lavender was. And so, as we're shopping and stuff, he's like, and I think in his mind, he's going, something must be good here because all these women are consuming this product, whatever. So we get done, we check out whatever, and we go outside and we're walking around. It's past the blooming season, but he's outside being in the heating, cooling, plumbing business, whatever. He's looking at the rows and their little pipelines to water and all those pieces. And we just kind of start talking. He's like, well, what is this? And I kind of explained it's good for this and this and whatever. And so the other farm is literally just a half mile down the road. So we walk down there. And that one is not as pretty, but it's a little more educational, actually. And so they have like a little house outside, and we walk through the house. And they have great pictures, explaining a lot of things, explaining harvesting and doing the distillation process and all that. And we literally hopped in the car, drove still around Washington Island, and just started talking and saying, we got land, could we do this? So Googling, can you grow lavender like where we are, all those things like that. And just started to kind of dream out loud. And I think at that time, that would have been September. I think then my dad must have passed away in October. And then 2020 hit, and we were still dreaming and talking, YouTubing a lot. And then COVID hit. And we were already thinking we're going to do something. And when COVID hit, you couldn't do anything but be home. So we have this land that literally what's embarrassing is my husband uses the land to hunt. We have open fields that we've always like leased out for farming. And he's taken me through it on our golf cart. I've never appreciated this was like our land, like my land. I always thought like we lease it out for crops. He hunts back there. I got my yard. And it felt like a homecoming experience to kind of get permission, like, oh, this is ours. We can turn this into something. So we kind of started networking around and asking around, like, where are people getting plants? I went to the United States Lavender Growers Association and got it to be a membership and logged in. I knew a few things about starting a business. So I went to, I'll recall in a minute what the website was, but created an LLC. Coming up with a name was though something. where our house is was a barn, and we will say we regret tearing down the barn.
Oh.
But there's still a wooden sign that we saved from the barn, and it said Stony Acres, and that's what they had outside. So we still have the wood piece that says that. So we knew we wanted Stony Acres as part of our name somehow. And then it was basically, Stony Acres Lavender or Lavender at Stony Acres. Fast forward, we settled on Lavender at Stony Acres. And from there, with the LLC, then it was really networking again with some of my friends and like, hey, do you know somebody that can, do graphic arts for me for our design, our logo, and all those pieces? And then I think the third thing was then, where are we gonna get the plants from? What do we do? So with that, and it's COVID, and everybody just can stay in their houses or outside. We already had a tractor and just started rotilling up those fields. And we decided with our first shipment that really came in pallets and needed a truck to unpack it, that my husband was shocked of what I ordered for plants. We found the person for our region that helps with wholesalers, and she was wonderful, Leah. And she connected, she's like our middle person. So she organized which farms the lavender would come from. And she was just thrilled to not be working just with greenhouse people. She's like, a lavender farm, this is gonna be the best thing ever. So she recommended, because of just getting a jump start, our first plants were bare root plants. And which means they were just embarking upon their either completion of a 2-year growth or going to start. So they were already like a jump start. The roots are there and the tops come. So this shipment comes with her recommendation of what types. And we're getting the rows ready. We're laying the tarp down. At that point, everybody's excited in the family and they're helping us. That surely dwindled out fast with the amount of work.
That's funny.
Like we had 5 people helping. Now it's down to Joe and I now. But anyways, we got them in, and that, was a learning process itself of planting and all that. And we decided to not do fancy things of the tubing down the rows. We relied on Mother Nature, we decided, and also just more cost effective, and just kind of started from there and prayed that we could get a crop off it the first year. And we did, because they were bare root. They weren't the baby plugs. And from there, Pinterest kind of became my best friend of ideas of what am I going to do? What am I going to make? What do people want? Yeah. And it just kind of keeps growing, and we keep educating ourselves through the process of lots of trial and error through it all.
Did you ever have a dream of having a lavender farm?
No, but I will say I do have a passion for flowers. It came from my grandmother, whose name was Grace. And I'm Nicole Grace, and then I named my daughter Grace Nicole. So with my grandmother, I would spend summers in Mount Morse, and every summer, literally, it was like some kids would say, we're going to grandma's house, and it's like, 3 hours away. Well, mine was 15 minutes, but I made it feel like I'm going 3 hours away to her farm, but it's 15 minutes away. And I would spend the week with her, and my highlights always with her was my uncle would always plow a section in the field for her to grow zinnias. And I still grow zinnias every year in front of my house. And there was some appreciation I did have for agriculture in a light way. It was never like, that's like my passion point, let me learn all about it. But I would help my uncle with crops of, we would be in the little picker thing, and we'd put the plants down, and we'd be sitting in these seeds as the row would go, and we would be doing peppers and onions and all that. So I knew a little bit about it, but flowers were always a passion. Or my dad always grew marigolds in his garden because they always would detract the animals. So baby-ish, but yeah, I never knew it was going to be lavender. I really never did.
Did you have a desire for a business of some sort? Like what was even seeding this idea?
Right. So I think what my husband and I suffer from is we can't stay complacent. We always have to be doing something.
I love it.
So whether it's we've done a light journey of flipping houses or a light journey of, rentals or something, we never can just sit. And that's good and bad. We've learned it's good and bad. but it's kind of who we are. So I think that because of that, it kind of fits in. We just didn't know it was going to be this. What I love the most now, and there's still roles to be defined a little bit better, but we're both a part of it. And he has his area he's supposed to be in charge of, and me too. But I think it's a good partnership for us to still have time together, which we thoroughly enjoy being together. And so it doesn't pull us apart by a hobby. It kind of pulls us back together as a hobby.
Okay, so the podcast is called Thinking Differently. And I love talking to people on how you think, right? So how did you even let yourself embrace this crazy idea when you were on vacation? What was your thinking process? And even with your husband, how did that all really kind of marinate together?
I think the thinking process was, when I look at him, I think of him just being so intelligent and so smart. And I really thought about, he can also see how smart I am. It was just like, we could expand this with ideas together. And it was fresh for both. Nobody walked in as an expert.
Ooh.
And so there's no competition. And so we're very competitive. So it's been growing together and thinking through it together versus one person being stronger than the other. I think it's very equal in both of us, that we didn't know we're going to go this path. It grew organically, and we're both learning through the process and both being 50-50 in our partnership of it versus, hey, he might say to me, let's do this. I've been doing this forever. And then I'm behind him. And I respect that relationship that we have, that in this, we're really 50-50 in it.
Wow. Okay. So I love taking advantage of all that you offer and shopping, right? But it's not only acreage of plants that you have, you're creating the stuff I get to buy. So there's not only agriculture, there's like manufacturing. How did you go there? How in the world are you learning this?
Trial and error. And so the first process was distillation. What does that look like? Now, that's where then, even though it's a 50-50, my husband grew his knowledge faster in that. And that's like, okay, that's your department. You be the distiller. So I'm now realizing he was better in science class than I was. So that's okay. And I'm on the consumer side. What does the average consumer want? What would I want? And that was what I had to retrain myself, and I still do. What would I want to use? And so that's one thing our Lavender Association really makes you think about, and no answer is wrong. What do you want to pride yourself on for your products and what they are? And so, we visit a lot of farms, and we get the opportunity to talk to a lot of farmers, and they're great about it. And you'll walk into some, and I'll talk to them. I'll say, how many products do you make? They're like, 6. We sub-manufacture out. That's their choice. That's to be applauded. Some will be like, we only do our own. This is our capacity. We don't do these type of products because we want to be all based on this. That's to be applauded. So we had to kind of create an identity, and I'm still floundering. I'm still floundering with it. I'm proud to fail that, I wanted to go this route. That really wasn't the right route of the product. So I think, Pinterest is a blessing, and also probably sometimes a little demon as far as what it can offer. But it was me thinking, what would I want? And then if I think I want it, then I can be proud to stand behind it, to share with others. And our organization does a great job of, recipes or links for other people. So the great thing about our organization is, like, I don't make all my products. I make about 80%.
Okay.
And the products that I don't make, they come from within our organization, that we support each other. I love that network, that I can say, hey, I just don't have the capacity, or I'll take a loss if I try and make it myself, because you can make it in bulk and I can't, to keep the consumer price down. So then I get it from one of our organization members, which I think is a great thing to support each other in that process.
Oh, wow, absolutely. So is it your lavender that they're using to make it, or it's just lavender in general?
It's lavender in general when it comes from them. There are some that, depending on what you want for a product and which farm you connect with, because a lot of them offer different things. And in time, I could too. And I may in time say, I love making this, if you want to order from me. So right now, of the 20%, it is from their lavender and so forth. And that's where we really pride ourselves that we support each other in this process, because we're all growing and learning and trying to do better with, the agriculture and the tourism of it and so forth. But yeah, I can definitely go down that avenue when I'm ready. And I think about the products that I make truly from scratch. There's quite a few that I'm like, I could start to expand that, but that's another whole endeavor that's down the road path.
When I think of, I mean, when you think about business, right? Business in general, but now we're looking at, you've got food items. By the way, I love your lavender lemonade, my favorite. You got food items, so now we've got food laws that you have to follow. I
Mhm.
remember going to your house to get my little shower pods refilled, and the whole idea of you can't just reuse the glass jar. I have to sell it to. I mean, these are like rules to follow and learn. And oh
Mhm.
my goodness, what has been your favorite part of this brand new learning process?
Oh, I think the favorite part right now is, well, there's quite a few. I mean, one is I love people coming up to my stand and people like you saying, I love this. And so it just makes me feel good that I made a small little impact on, having lavender per se in their life, whatever. Um, you know, I love that that's our land and I'm making it prettier than what it already was. And others can enjoy it. We were blessed to have yoga in the lavender field last Saturday, and we had over 30 yogis there, I think you would call it. And I had some treats and stuff afterwards, and it was such a delight to have them embrace being in the field and craving it and just realizing that people need that. And so it drives me further of um seeing what I can do out there and having others enjoy it. But it brings a worry also that I'll embark upon, I'm sure, criticism, that this isn't this way or this didn't work out. It hasn't happened yet, but that's constantly in the back of my mind thinking, when that first one comes and it's going to hit hard and it's going to hurt, I gotta get myself trained to balance in that business world, which I'm not. My real job is in the business world per se, but not like this avenue in the business world. It's quite different. So our organization does a great job of, with our Facebook organization group, we have a lot of people just posting questions all the time. I'm learning from that because we're all going through this together, kind of.
Right, right. What is your education background, your day job? What does that look like?
So I have a degree in education to be a teacher from K through 8 teacher, reading specialist, pre-K through grade 12, and then a master's degree also that covers that in reading and literacy. So I worked in the Watoma Area School District for 17 years in all avenues of supporting readers and so forth, and being a reading specialist or interventionist. And then after 17 years, this will begin now my 11th year at CESA 6, which is in Wisconsin. We have regions that we help support districts, and CESA stands for Cooperative Educational Services Agency. And so ours is 6, and so we have a region. But I travel all over Wisconsin to other schools, not just my region, to support teachers, students, administrators on literacy initiatives in their district. So that's the day job. And I'm blessed that it's a home office / travel to districts. I don't go to a physical office, which is nice. So it allows the flexibility that when I'm done with my day job and close the computer at that time, I can go into my lavender world and still have energy. And it's what's funny is I could be riding in the tractor and after the day job's done, and I'm still thinking about the day job, and actually ideas come to me because I'm just kind of in that zone of, plow this field, and it's like, oh, I can do this in this school, I can do this in this school. And so it's been kind of a good blessing of it. It bounces me back and forth a little bit.
What would you be doing if you didn't have the lavender field?
Yeah, I mean, my husband and I enjoy doing projects together, so we probably would be, buying a few more houses and flipping and so forth. We enjoy that, and you've done a couple of those, so we probably would, be looking out for that and doing things. But yeah, I kind of sit back and I wonder, If we
Right.
weren't going to do that, we don't do this. And he does say at times, I go, what would we be doing? He goes, we would be relaxing. I'm like, what does that feel like? I don't know.
Right. Right. Okay. So what's your favorite product to make?
I enjoy the shower steamers. That's the one I truly enjoy. It was
Oh,
kind of one of the first or second that we actually did. And it was trial and error like the first time. And he's helping me. He's crushing the menthol crystals. And I had the gloves on because I'm, have the products in mixing all the stuff. And he's pouring in and all the stuff. And I put it in the little circle things and pop them out, like an hour later, because that's what Pinterest said. And oh, they all fall apart. That doesn't work. So okay, let's do another batch. And so yeah, that one's fun because it's down to a little bit of a science of it. And we really pride ourselves that one we really just know really well. And I try to differentiate a little bit with different scents. It doesn't work. So I'm going back to my original trial and error and staying with that. So that one I've enjoyed. Probably the other one, well, I'm enjoying now, we're doing like roll-ons and stuff where it's a blend of the oils and kind of researching what do people need. And so everybody needs a relax and breathe or a headache one. So that's a simple but fun one. And I think now I'm slowly starting to embark upon like the candles. And that was a lot of research I did around candles. My first candle was a complete failure. I still have them. They burned literally 10 minutes and they were done.
oh no.
I bought the wood wicks. I was making it all fancy and put all my essential oil in there. I'm like, there's no smell. And then I researched further. And if you do a candle solely with essential oil, you actually have to have triple the amount. And then there's a profit loss. So started researching and I decided to not go with wood wick. I went with organic wicks instead. And I started researching the scents. And so I started then researching, most people put fragrance in their fragrance oil, which is a sister of an essential oil. So then I had to make that decision, do I want that as a product? Am I okay with that? Because it's technically not my essential oil, it's a fragrance oil. Well, then I had to research that because fragrance oils, there's different types and so forth. And so then as I researched, I wanted to make sure it was phthalate, I've said that word many times now, free, which means it doesn't contain possible cancer-causing agents inside the fragrance oil. So there's different types. So I then researched further and found then a company that has phthalate-free lavender fragrance oil. But I still wanted our oil in there from the essential oil. So what I did with the amount that you would need, which is now a lot less, I used the fragrance oil. And then I do add a little bit of our essential oil just to say it's in there and it will still be, released. There's still that cost factor for my consumer, but still I'm honoring that our oil, is in there and so forth. But even after that, I started making my batches. Oh gosh, they didn't set. What happened here? Like, what did I do wrong again? It was, well, the temperature has to be a certain temperature before you can pour. If you pour too fast, your outsides form and the inside, and it's a mess. Now I got her down and I'm getting better at it. So yeah, I did finally get a good batch to come through. So next week I'll do another batch and stuff and that's the other thing we do. I don't pre-make ahead 100 products at a time of each product. I try to stay like right now I'm low on everything. So now we'll go and make a set, but I don't pre-make 100 of everything and let it sit on my shelves. I try to make sure everything's pretty fresh. So now I'm down to 2 candles, in which it's like, oh, are you really ready for the real world? It's okay. I've watched other people in our Lavender organization, and they literally will put on their website like sold out, and then they'll replenish because they're making sure their products are fresh and waiting for that, or they ran out of oil or things like that. That does happen. So yeah, that was another learning curve too in that process of don't make everything so much ahead, because I also want quality. And there's only a certain longevity of a product being on a shelf, and I want to be known for having fresher products.
So I'm a lavender oil consumer, right? The whole essential oils. I just had no idea. I mean, I buy the bottle and I use it and life is great. I had no idea how fascinating, I guess, this whole process of distilling it and I love lavender plants, but how in the world do you get an oil out of that?
And what's amazing, we got one tip on Facebook that somebody posted last week. Hey, when you guys harvest, do you all distill that day, or do you wait a day? I waited a day, and I had a higher amount of oil come out. So I go and cut the lavender, and we cut the phenomenal after yoga. And I said to Joe, I said, let's just wait a day. Let's just give this a test run, like, let's practice. The oil we got was beyond. Like, I have jars, and I've never gotten full jars. I have jars. And so that was just a quick learning curve that we didn't think about or know, and, learn through kind of our group and organization. So then you really start to appreciate oil, because, if he spills a drop on the floor, I'm a little ticked.
Yeah.
Because it's like every little bud I want in there, and I want to get a little oil out of there. So yeah, that was a great quick learning curve that I was like, wait a day. And yeah, the oil was, and so we will now increase our distiller. We'll buy one of those fancy copper ones. It's year 4 now. So now it's time to, let's get serious. Because the distilling process is exhausting. It's long. Especially this year, even though the plants didn't look the biggest, he distilled just with phenomenal 9 distillations of just phenomenal. We have 8 other cultivars out there, 8 other types. So it's a long process because we have a smaller canister we distill from. So now we're gonna get the big daddy, I think, the big one. So hopefully it goes faster and stuff.
Oh, that is so awesome. So, okay, you cut it, you wait a day now because it'll give you more oil. How long before the whole distilling process is done?
So every type of cultivar blooms and is ready for harvesting differently. So Big Blue was the first one we did, and that was over 6 weeks ago. So this harvest season, I should have cut phenomenal a little sooner, but I waited for the yoga. So usually the window with the whole field of a first harvest, then to distillation, is like a month.
Wow.
Of them being ready to bloom. Not that we're distilling every night or cutting every night, but the bloom of when it's ready to be cut is just a little timed differently, which is great for when we are going to have people come out. It'll be great for them, the consumer, to have a little bit longer of what we'll say is a purple season. What most of us have is about a 4-week window. Wisconsin, if we go a little bit southern, it increases. Some of the people in our organization in Missouri, theirs is like 6 weeks. And we're blessed right now. A couple of our types up there, Grosso and Big Blue, just bloomed again. So Gracie, my daughter, just cut Big Blue for me. So we got a second distillation, second cutting. So then you make decisions. Which cuttings are you going to distill from? Which ones do you want to dry and then use it as 2 options? One to make sachets, or the second one for culinary. I'm not producing for culinary. That I get from our organization, because I don't have the right probably cleaning systems for, because there's a cleaning process of buds, not that you clean them, but you shake all the dust and all that off. So that I trust people in our organization that have more of those tools. One day we'll get there. But so this one for Big Blue, I make sure it smells good. And so that one, it was smaller. So I'm like, let's do those for then the buds that I will then put through our 3 shakers by hand and make 2 things, dryer sachets to put in the dryer in muslin bags. And then also just your traditional, sachets you can put in your car, your dresser drawers, your closets, and things like that. So there's different purposes behind them. And then some I'll cut for fresh bouquets, and then we won't distill. We won't take the buds off. And then, use that for just, people to have dried flowers throughout the year and stuff.
So we have a lavender plant in the front of our house. I'm not a green thumb. It stresses me out. So you're raised up even higher in my eyes, because that's amazing that you love it. But accidentally, we got a lavender plant in the front of our house, and I had no idea that we should trim it. I mean, this thing is like, it rained the other night, and it just all is laying all over. And it's by watching you and your pictures that you post, I'm like, oh, hey, maybe we don't have to wait till October to trim this thing.
Yeah. And so that was a learning curve. We knew we should trim after, as you cut. Harvest is different than trimming. So harvest is, you go down a little bit on the green after the purple's at the top, and there's a green stem, and you go down, but you don't go down like deep in it. So then there's two options, a spring cutting or a fall cutting. And it kind of prepares the plant in fall to get ready for dormancy. But it needs about 6 weeks to get ready before that first frost hits. So our first year, we're like, let's cut it in the, in the fall. And we should have cut it around Labor Day. 2,000 plants, and we've learned how to cut that faster with a little electronic thing versus the scissors. Yeah, thank goodness for that. So we cut them down, and that winter we were okay. Nothing terrible happened. And that was a thing in winter in Wisconsin. You want snow first to be its shield and protector. And then if wind comes, it's protected. Otherwise, if not, if it's the opposite, it gets wind burned and lavender can not make it. Especially when you're in an open field, it's, it doesn't thrive. And so first year we were fine. Second year, oops, lost 500 plants, that year there wasn't as much snow and the wind just nailed it and they just didn't come back. So then we both thought, and we again cut in the fall. And we're like, gosh, maybe we should do what other people are doing. Should we cut in the spring and not cut in the fall? In the fall, just do like a baby haircut, but not like that full cutting back and rounding them and making them nice for the winter. So in our organization, everybody had the issue. 5A and 5B region, which is our region for agriculture, all said, gosh, we had a bad year. And so we all had a bad winter, but then we all started comparing notes. Like, did you cut fall? Did you cut spring? What'd you do? And the head guy, Mike Newstrom, that used to be our president of our organization, who has years of experience and started this whole thing, said he always cuts in the spring because it also is a way to wake up the plants, and you kind of can reshape them to be pretty. So that's the other thing. Everybody, they'll go up to Fragrant Isle up in Washington Island, and their flowers are shaped perfectly. You come out to mine, and we try to shape them perfectly, but they're, some are just going in the direction they want to go in. You can't control it. So this year, then I tried and I cut them in the spring, and I'm learning because with the spring, there's a woody part, and then you want to be about 1 inch above that. And that's a good spot to then cut it. And then that also like wakes it back up, or starts to help wake it back up, to then say, ooh, she wants me to wake up now. Now it's time. And then we also learned in the fall, you want a wet fall so that the ground stays moist to help it go into a winter season with hopefully the blessing of some snow. So the southern states don't get snow, but they would want like a wet fall to at least get that soil moist and that the roots moist, so it's able to kind of wake back up.
Okay, for you 4 years ago, knowing nothing, you are now what I call a great expert. I love your detail and just this passion to learn more. This is so beautiful. And I'm so glad you have a purple tent. So anytime I go to vendor events, I know right away if I should stop because Nicole is there.
It's amazing, those little things like that. Yeah. Or when people check out, my husband's the one that said, spray it with a linen spray. And that's just like, I can't tell you how many people go, oh, that's so cool. I'm like, it's just a spray, but it's just those little things like that of, oh, you have a purple tent, or you decorate your tables nice. And I always think, what would I want as a consumer? And so if I'm happy with it, I hope it draws people in just like me. And so I'm not going to create something that I wouldn't like. I want it to really be what would I like, and so forth.
Oh, you're doing a fabulous job. Fabulous job. So how can people, well, let me back up. Do you offer like online ordering? Because I know a lot of people are going to listen and they don't live in this area. So how can people connect with you and get your stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So that was a journey too, creating a website.
I'm sure.
I'm an educator. I am not a technology person. So I really had to look at the book, Making a Website for Dummies. I learned a lot there too. That took me a full year. It was really scary, and it's there. So we do have a website, simply just www.lavenderatstoneyacres.com. And we are also on Facebook and Instagram. And then our email is just the same, except lavenderatstoneyacres@gmail.com. So I try to keep up on the website as far as, the products I have. But right now, I got to get on there tonight actually and say, we're out, we're out, we're out. But then 2 days from now, I'll say, we're in, we're in, we're in. So if everybody can just wait till weekend or even next week to go there and look, I'd appreciate that. But yeah, they can shop online and so forth. And then on Facebook and Instagram, I'm pretty good at always saying where we're going to be next. But a little secret. Last Tuesday, a little pretty white shed got delivered here that we were hoping then to finish the inside and then have like a little store at our Lavender farm, ready for maybe a little sneak peek in the fall, but definitely ready for next year. So we'll still do some vendor events and we'll have our online store, but we really want people to come out here and experience it and be able to shop right here. And it'll give me more time to be out there and keep it growing and being beautiful.
And now you're not only going to be the distiller and the farmer, but now you're like a boss with employees. And how much fun! And look at where your business is going.
Yeah, we'll see. Whatever the blessing is forward, that we'll take that. The path has been unmarked and that's okay. And we'll let it go that way and we'll see what happens.
Oh, what a fun adventure. I love watching your adventure and I love that I get to be the consumer of your adventure. That's awesome. Well, I love, I guess, too, the fact that you've got your little white shed that's delivered because that's such a creative experience to actually be on the farm. And if you think about it, that's what like totally inspired you and your husband to even consider it. That's so fabulous that you can see that full turnaround in your business.
Yep. Yep. We're
That's
excited.
awesome.
We're excited.
Well, thank you. I love thinking differently. I love it talking to people who think differently. You've got no excuses and you're not letting your lack of knowledge stop you from a crazy new business type of idea. So thank you for letting me pick your brain and kind of dig in of where my missing gaps are that I can kind of pull from you.